Hi friends. So today we are going to learn about routing. What is routing in AWS Cloud? So routing simple is diverting the traffic which you accept at the domain name. For example, my domain name is frameaseem.me. That's my website domain. Now, as soon as it gets resolved, I have the option of how to route it to the specific IP address or the server which would be actually responding and showing up the response for my website. So I have multiple websites. Sometime I change the IP, which is hosted on S3, sometime on GoDaddy, and sometime to something else. So this kind of control of where to route, when to route, which domain or subdomain, that is what is called as routing. Route 53 is the service in AWS which does that thing. So why 53? Because 50 is the port which is used, and since it routes, the name of the service is Route 53. Now there are several kind of routings. First is simple routing, weighted routing, latency based, failover, geolocation routing, geo proximity, and multi-value. So I'm going to explain you about each of them. So let's get started. First thing is, what is simple routing policy? So this is a policy in which as soon as the user hits the domain name, and there is a process which is very generic. When the domain name server resolves and directs it to the Route 53. Once Route 53 gets it, it would have the list of IPs. Why list of IPs? Because this is for redundancy. If my one server is down, at least another is working. So what I do is I would put my IP address against my domain name in Route 53. So it would randomly go on any of these, on 1, 2. But in general, AWS ensures that all the servers get equal number of requests. However, there is no control. So more than one, you can have 1, 2, or more, whatever number of servers or resource IP address listed it, that would actually respond to the, or that would actually be routed to the domain name request which would be made. Second is weighted routing. What does that mean? If you have one route or the server which you want, which is a bigger server, and you want most of the traffic to come over there, there is a setting or the configuration wherein you can assign the bias or the weight. So 80% of the request would go to US West 1 instead of US East 1, as I have explained in this diagram. Third is health checks. So what are health checks? Basically, they create the heartbeat mechanism. So the Route 53 router knows what are all the servers which are healthy. If one server is not responding, then it doesn't make sense to send the user to that server. And then there will be no response. So it would be a bad user experience. Because of that, we the Route 53, you can configure the health check, which can continuously check and send the traffic only to the healthy nodes. And if a node is not healthy, it would remove it out of its request pool. So no request would go there. Now, third is failover routing. What does that mean? And what is the main use case here? It is for the failover, as name suggests, there is active and passive. So one is your primary website, which will act basically. But in case there is a lot of server or some calamity hits that data center, and if that data center is down, then you have another passive backup, you can say backup replica or exec copy, which will become active. So only in the case of failures, active passive works. Now latency routing. So the failover is mainly the weighted routing. You can think of it with health check enabled. And in weighted, the passive get 0% and active get 100%. The weighted routing is also used, what I'm showing on screen now, for AB deployment or blue-green deployment. So you update one server, and then you start sending requests to that, and then you block the another server from getting any request by doing the weighted routing. Now, latency based is very important routing, because based on the user's response time from a particular server, the response would be given. Now, it doesn't mean always that the user is closer to that data center, which would be picked, because sometimes the resources is already under stress. So what this intelligently does is it would route you to the different server which would be able to respond faster. Latency means response time. You can think of that loosely. This is here what I am showing here as the description. So the minimum latency for that request, that server would be responding to you. And this is geolocation routing. For example, you have a website, and if a customer hits, and he's a European customer, so you would like to forward him to Europe region instead of forwarding him to US region so that he can see the price in pounds and not in US dollars. Same with Canadian customer, you would like to show them the Canadian dollars. So this kind of thing, you would have the websites hosted in their specific data centers in their region, and then specific to their language and currency. And whenever someone hits that site, intelligently based on their origin or the IP address, you can detect the location and you can forward it appropriately to the version of the site which is more appropriate to those customers. Geo proximity routing is combination of lot of things. Geo proximity is basically you can draw the region that so and so people who falls under this area on this earth will hit or will go to this particular server. And there are a lot of biases and conditions which you can put. And to put all those conditions, Route 53 gives you a route flow which would have if then else flow, which is really helpful to use. And that is what all I had. Please like my video and share it with all your friends. Thanks for watching. My name is Aseem, and I am a certified cloud architect.